is how we turn space rocks into jewelry. By space rocks, I mean meteorite. So we just made a very cool collection entirely made of different types of meteorite. And so I wanted to kind of like break it down because it was a very complex project. We had to literally do science, y'all.
It's science.
So hope you enjoy it. My name is Flux. I'm a custom jewelry designer, and let's jump into it. So if you didn't know what meteorite is obviously it comes from space, but it's actually not stone, it's metal. It's a combination of iron and nickel, which is really interesting. And we just got the craziest request to make an entire jewelry collection for clients in Singapore made out of meteorite. So the first two pieces that we made with meteorite were earrings, and then the second one we made with a ring. And so the men's band was extremely technical because meteorite comes basically in two different types. So you have some that kind of look like shrapnel. That's what we use for the earrings. So it's literal bits of pieces of the metal going into the earth, and they come into these little clusters of metal. The second option is, how can I explain it? It's kind of like the rocks are then cut into it. So you need a much bigger piece. They will look like this. So it has these kinds of like etchings in them. And that's what we use for the men's band. The interesting thing about meteorite is that you actually need to know where it's from. If you don't know the crash landing of the meteorite, collectors will say that it's worth like a third of the value. So that's kind of like a little fun fact. These guys are actually from a 1947 crash in Siberia. In order to get it into the band, this is where the technical part came in.
Technically speaking,
because we were working with two-tone metal, so the client wanted half of it in platinum and half of it in 18-karat yellow gold. The problem with these metals is that, platinum is very expensive and it's also weighs almost twice the weight of 14 karat. So if you have the same ring in 14 karat yellow as you do in platinum, it's like 1.7 times the weight. And so in order to do this design, we needed to reduce the cost of metal enough to enter into the client's price point, which means we had to take the slab of meteorite and we had to get it thin enough in order to put it inside the band.
awesome.
If the meteorite wasn't thin enough, then we had to make the walls of the platinum and the gold a lot thicker, adding on mass, adding on cost. So my job was to get it as thin as possible, and we looked at everything. So the first thing that we debated was cutting it by laser. Laser is something that we see in jewelry. Oftentimes, those like kind of like name necklaces and things like that. They'll actually take a sheet of metal and like laser it out, and that's how you get those crisp edges. But the problem with that was that we couldn't get it thin enough. I needed the meteorite to basically go down anywhere between like 0.5 to 0.7 millimeters, so it's like as thin as a piece of paper in order to get that inlay. So we did it the manual way. In doing the manual way, I had to cut it, and let me tell you that this is not the standard metal, okay? Cutting this sheet of metal took me over an hour and a half because meteorite is so extremely dense. Yeah, it just took forever. It took forever. My arm hurt. I had to stop so many times. Had it been silver, I literally could have cut it in like 20 minutes. So just to give you the time difference, now that I have my slab that's cut, I then had to basically compress it in a wheel. Okay, we flattened it, that's where we're at, because it was way too thick here. But in doing so, it basically erased all of these etchings that are attained by acid. And so my hope is that we're going to do a science experiment today in putting it back into acid, which I've never done before, to make those etchings come back out. So let's try it.
Oh my god, that's so cool. Woo! Put it back in the bottle. I don't know. Yeah. Can you cut out a little bit more? Woohoo!
That's a good put, yeah. That's perfect. And it kind of did work. So as you saw, the designs were basically into two types of metal. One was platinum, one was 18 karat. And so we had to solder them together and then solder the inlay into the ring. The interesting thing is that in jewelry, we actually have 3 levels of solder. We have hard, medium, and easy. And so depending on the level of easiness you're soldering at, is going to require more heat to melt the solder and to make the metal join. And so we started off with hard solder to basically assemble the two pieces so that when we're welding the meteorite into the piece, we're using easy so it connects a lot quicker. And that's basically how it's done.
That's it.
We couldn't just leave the meteorite in there and kind of like tack it in because it's such an abrasive, like hard metal that anytime we tried to fit it, it would just like spring open and it wouldn't stay. So we had to weld it in and then we had to cover it with a very clear resin. So this is a resin that doesn't yellow. A lot of resins will actually tarnish. This one does not, and it's very durable. And so we kind of use that to seal everything in and also preserve the metal. We don't want anybody scratching the meteorite or anything like that and like everyday wear and tear. This is the final piece. It looked really cool. We've also made the matching wedding band. She did not want meteorite in hers, but we kept that same kind of consistency of like moving yellow gold on platinum with black sapphire. And then for her wedding earrings, we used the shrapnel of the meteorite for her earrings. So the meteorite is a little bit too thick. I need to kind of even it out because it's just like a piece of bacon right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hammer it. I'm not going to hammer it directly because it's going to scratch it and it's going to impact it. So I'm just going to wrap it in a little cloth. Again, like I won't even hit it on this because there's going to be too much recoil hitting it on the metal versus the wood's going to absorb. So I just need to make it a bit flat. So overall, this was a really fun project. We took a lot of time to like research it. Meteorite is not something that's commonly used in jewelry. We do see it here and there. So we had to do a lot of like testing and tryouts. This was really fun. This is so fun! So yeah, let me know how you like it. If ever you like short form content, you can always watch our TikTok's channel, Dominic Flux, or we also have our Fine and Flux Instagram, where we do little kind of like breakdowns. So if you don't always have time to watch these like 20-minute videos, we do them kind of like in a minute 30. So it's a little bit easier to digest. And thanks for watching. If you're looking for a custom piece, hit me up.